The obnoxious, annoying, PTSD-initiating sound of the alarm clock filled Bethany's ears, begging her to wake up and begin the day. She shut the tantalizing device off, and with a sigh, she rolled out of her warm, cozy bed and began to get herself ready for the day. As Bethany was doing this, she was also mentally reviewing over the week ahead. It seemed like every minute of every day was booked. That doesn't even include the household chores I need to do, or the inevitable calls and emails I'll have to answer, she thought. How am I going to do it all? She was stressed out, overstimulated, and constantly thinking of the next thing she had to do. Bethany's life could be described as hectic, rigorous, and hurricane-like, but one word that sums it up best is a simple four-letter word: busy. What made her so busy was what she purposely or unpurposely filled her time with, and how she used her time. The question of how people have used their time has been explored for many years. In Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, he wrote, "For one who exerts himself needs relaxation. We should be careful to use amusement at the right time, dispensing it as a remedy for ills of work." Aristotle believed that the solution for the effects of work is to relax. This relaxation, though, needs to be used wisely. He believed that people should look at their spare time not as spare, but as their most important time. They should use this most important time to explore and grow in their interests, relationships, Christian walk, and most importantly, to rest. Aristotle lived in a world where leisure time was valued, but in our rapid-paced, workaholic world, many are left saying, "I just don't have any free time." Many people would agree with the statement, we live in a fast-paced society. American society has become a place where constant busyness is valued, and having mass amounts of free time is looked down upon. People are feeling tired, exhausted, lethargic, and stressed. Being productive is good, but when it overtakes life and there is no time for rest or relaxation, it can turn into a beast. It pounds the person further into their busyness with its tail. It snatches a person in its claws and forces them to comply. It bites away at a person's enjoyment and relaxation. American society needs a better balance between work and leisure. Why does correcting a person's time poverty matter? It may seem like a world of constant activity would lead to a flourishing society, but in fact, the opposite is true. People are stressed about their attempts to look busy. In 2019, more than 3/4 of adults reported symptoms of stress, and 1/3 of the world population reported feeling stressed, worried, and/or angry. Over 3/4 of the world's population is stressed about being busy. Additionally, many people tend to cut down on their time dedicated to growing relationships, whether physical or spiritual. They sleep less in an attempt to do more. Constant busyness is not providing the benefits people perceive it to have. Aristotle's leisure time has been forgotten. The practical question is, what should a person do? Well, one end of the spectrum is stressed out and stretched paper thin with their many activities. Others choose the extreme of not doing anything altogether. But both of these extremes destroy the delicate balance that Aristotle describes. Being in a constant state of leisure destroys the benefits and enjoyment of having time to refresh our weary bodies. Everyone has things that need to be accomplished, but what if society attempted to reintroduce Aristotle's delicate balance back into daily life? Constant busyness should be reduced because of its mental, social, spiritual, and physical effects. Living and participating in a busy environment affects mental health through stress, burnout, and reduced focus and productivity. Stress has become a commonplace in American society. There are two types of stress: eustress and chronic stress. Eustress is the type of stress you experience when playing a game or riding a roller coaster. Eustress motivates, focuses a person's energy, and can enhance performance. It is a beneficial reaction. The opposite is true of chronic stress. It leaves a person feeling jittery and can be harmful to a person's health. Sadly, a 2022 poll reported that in America, 62% of women and 51% of men ages 18 through 34 feel overwhelmed with stress, and 27% of all adults are so stressed that they cannot function. Stress can be helpful to a certain extent, but overall, with the continued pressure to do more, less is getting done. Another study found that as stress in the workplace increases, productivity appears to decrease. When faced with many tasks to complete, people with chronic stress struggle to finish the tasks before them. They are simply overwhelmed. This leads to burnout. Burnout occurs when an activity or job becomes so stressful that it leads to exhaustion and a lack of motivation to complete the task at hand. This can lead to a sense of failure and self-doubt. A study reports that a whopping 89% of employees said that they've experienced occupational burnout over the past year. Of those, more than a quarter, 27%, said they experience burnout all the time. Beyond this being an issue of productivity and workplace wellness, it can be a significant driver of resignations. More than 2/3, 70% of employees would consider leaving their current company for a different one that offered comprehensive resources, benefits, support, and/or policies intended to reduce burnout. Many people are given too much to do in too little time. Week by week, this constant busyness leads to burnout, and many people are willing to leave their jobs if solutions are not provided. Constant busyness also leads to an overall reduction of focus and productivity. Productivity can only be considered productive if the action leads to the completion of a goal or task. Everything else is simply distractors aimed at appearing busy. This is the key difference between the truly successful and apparent successful. Society has shaped the word busy to equal productive, but this is not true. To be busy is to have time filled with distractions. On the other hand, to be productive means that a person is valuably spending their time on meaningful things. The more a person is busy, the fewer number of things they productively accomplish. Being productive will lead to long-term success, not filling your time with distractions. Yet Americans are constantly on the move, and the results are devastating. We are here and there and everywhere. We are distracted. We are preoccupied. We cannot focus on the task in front of us. We do not follow through. We are so busy with a million pursuits that we don't even notice the most important things slipping away. Being constantly busy reduces the amount of productive time a person has to accomplish their needed tasks, leading many times to further procrastination with supposed busyness. When considering a reduction of busyness, a person's social health should also be taken into consideration. Busyness affects a person socially as it damages close relationships and results in them being physically but not emotionally present. Close relationships also often suffer as a result of busyness. Busy people rarely give the best to the ones they love. They serve the leftovers. The emotions and energy that remain after one's primary attention has already been given to others. Too drained, too tired, or too preoccupied, they fail to give their loved ones the attention they deserve. When a busy person is trying to please others, the ones they hold dearest often fall to the wayside. A busy person has a demanding schedule that takes away from quality relationship building time. This can leave loved ones feeling rejected or angry with their lack of ability. In addition, a busy person is also highly susceptible to feelings of isolation and anger because they aren't able to spend that quality time with others. The decrease of leisure has also created a phenomenon called toxic time, in which we are physically present but emotionally distant or preoccupied with other things. Take Ava. She attends her school's play, but her mind is not focused on the drama the kids are attempting to portray for her. She needs to schedule an important meeting for work. The kids need new school shoes. She grabs her phone and adds it to her growing list. She sees that she has an email and quickly responds. Then her phone rings with an important call. She steps out of the auditorium. By the time she returns, the play is over. Later that night, her kids asked her what their play was about, and she couldn't remember. She wasn't mentally involved with what was going on. Unbridled busyness destroys our relationships from the inside out, slowly, imperceivably, but surely. In so doing, it erodes our foundation, the only thing that only matters in life. Toxic time and the guilt it brings cannot be destroyed unless the root cause is first dealt with, the constant busyness and pressure that makes a busy person worry and fret. Constant busyness also negatively affects spiritual lives as it results in spiritual growth being put on the back burner. The conflict between spiritual and physical desires is demonstrated in the story of Mary and Martha. Quote, "Now as they went on their way, Jesus entered a village, and a woman named Martha welcomed him into her house. And she had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his teaching. But Martha was distracted with much serving. And she went up to him and said, 'Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her then to help me.' But the Lord answered her, 'Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things. But one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her.'" End quote. Too often we are like Martha. We forget to be like Mary, to stop and truly listen. We need to pause to remember God's role in our lives, to worship him for his all-sufficient grace, and keep our eye on the ultimate horizon of eternity. One of the devil's best weapons is noise. Just as people use white noise to block out other noise, Satan uses lifestyle noise to block out God's voice. Be still and know that I am God. Satan uses constant busyness to distract us from our purpose of glorifying God and enjoying him forever. Every Christian wants to know God more. Few Christians fight for the silence required to know him. Continually busy people need to alter their lifestyles because it distracts them from the true worship of their Creator. Constant busyness can also lead to detrimental physiological effects, such as lack of sleep and poor eating habits. Sleep is beneficial to everyone. It can be compared to the human version of rebooting the computer. But what happens when the computer never shuts off? Your ability to fall asleep is made worse by processing the chatter in your mind about what is left to do, remembering what still needs to be done, and the surprises that happen during your day. In addition to having trouble falling asleep, Americans are sleeping less. The average American gets 2.5 less hours per sleep than a century ago. God created us for rest, and he wants us to rest. Quote, "It is vain that you rise up early and go late to rest, eating the bread of anxious toil, for he gives his beloved to sleep." End quote. Human brains need a mental reboot, just like a computer. When people are constantly busy, they sacrifice the rest they desperately need, the sleep that God calls them to partake in. Poor eating habits also develop in a constantly busy culture and environment. As a result of the pressure to achieve and do more in a short amount of time, people often rush through meals, eat processed food to save time, or even forget about eating. These poor habits lead to feeling tired, increased stress, and weaken the immune system. Proper refueling and rest of the brain are essential to living a healthy life. Just as cars need gas and not diesel, the human body needs healthy, nutritious food, not junk food, in order to run properly. When a busy person consumes processed or quick-to-eat food, it limits their body's function. It's like filling a car's gas tank with diesel fuel. It doesn't work. Nutritionally re-energizing the body is essential to continue in a healthy life. Some people may say that busyness allows them to grow in their time management skills. They claim that having less time to do things forces you to do them faster and to use your time more wisely. This can be true, but this argument forgets to look at the other side of the coin. What happens when everything is crammed into a shorter time period? Multitasking is attempted, but when we think we are multitasking, we are actually switch-tasking. Switch-tasking makes things take longer because we have to stop working on one project to do another, and then we have to go back to the original project. It is an illusion, making us think that we are doing more when we are actually doing less in the same amount of time. Many claim that busy people also have more growth opportunities. This can be true. Busy people are typically involved in more activities and have a wider range of connections. But what also needs to be considered is if they have the time to take on those additional responsibilities. One reason why we never tame the busyness beast is because we are unwilling to kill anything. We hate to say no. If the opportunity is given to us, we take it. But it is important to make sure that when you say yes to others, you are not saying no to yourself. A busy person needs to recognize that they cannot do everything that they think everyone wants them to do. A busy person needs to be able to recognize their limitations and their needs for others to serve their needs as well. I am a servant of all and need to be prosecuted, found guilty, executed, and replaced with I am a servant with limitations. A busy person's aim should be to excel in a few areas rather than many. It has also been said that being busy gives one a greater sense of accomplishment, purpose, and direction. This can be true, but those feelings only last for a short amount of time, because one has to quickly move on to the next activity. Those feelings also come at a cost. You feel guilty or anxious when you are not running your self-raffles, and consider yourself lazy if you even take 5 minutes to sit and have a break. A short-term sense of accomplishment is not worth the detrimental effects of constant busyness. We have explored the idea of busyness, how crowded one perceives one's schedule to be. We then moved on to consider how busyness affects us, mentally, socially, spiritually, and physically. Finally, we ended with an analysis of how we often trick ourselves into thinking that busyness is such a good thing. Busyness affects each one of us to some degree, but what if we did nothing? What if we let the busyness beast rule our lives? Would we be portraying a Christian life? Satan is the busyness beast. He knows that we are not designed to live in this fallen world. He knows that we can be deceived and taken advantage of easily. He knows that we can be manipulated into doing other things that take us away from fighting the good fight. Being busy accurately stands for being under Satan's yoke. But we can't conquer him. Only Jesus can. What does this mean for the average person? Ultimately, we need to trust that Jesus died in order to save us from this fallen world. But in addition, let me suggest 4 things that we can do. First, to prevent the mental effects of busyness, we can learn the power of saying no. You win some, you lose some. This will help us in an attempt to reduce the number of tasks we take on, leaving more time for leisure. Secondly, to help us in our interactions with others, we can make improvements on how we try to people please everyone by taking on additional tasks. Instead, we should focus on building up real relationships with those who matter most. Thirdly, we can improve our efforts to guard our time with God and value it for the precious time it truly is. Finally, physically, we can allot and keep the allotted time in our day to consume healthy, nutritious foods and to get quality sleep. We all need to be refreshed. We all need leisure time. But first, we must conquer the busyness beast. Thank you.